August 5th, 2015, I got the call that nobody wants to ever get. I got the call that I had been diagnosed with cancer. When he called me, he said, "We need to discuss your options." And I'm like, options?
Dipping the toes in.
They just made it seem like cancer just came out of the sky. Like, it was like, this just is something that just happened to you.
Okay, got lots of questions.
When you're in that state of mind, you're hearing, but you're really not hearing. I had every imaginable side effect related to having that procedure. I had the erectile dysfunction. Things just stopped working. I would wake up and the bed would be wet. I was in excruciating pain just like for months because you have this radiation that's going off in your prostate.
Is it like metal that's radiated or is it an injection? Do you know?
I know they're seeds and they're radioactive.
Okay.
You know, I started eliminating all the things that had a correlation to prostate cancer. And for years, I had been poisoning my body unknowingly.
It's like a roller coaster, right? You go up and then you crash down.
And so it was really, you know, from talking to her, is really what sparked it.
I know on Christmas and holidays, man, they get a card or something.
Right.
Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching Healthy Alternative. Today, I've got a very special guest with me. Harold from the Good Living Podcast is here, and I'm extremely excited to have you on because I just came on your channel, and we had a great conversation. I know a little bit about your history and what you've dealt with, but also what you've built because of what you've dealt with. And I wanted to have you come on my show and talk about your health journey, talk about what your community, what you've built and everything, and just share your story because I think it's incredible. So thank you for being with me today.
Well, Chris, man, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on your show. And thank you for agreeing to be on my show. That was a great episode. I learned so much, man.
Yeah, man, it was definitely fun. Shoot, I like getting the views, man. I like seeing the views. It looked like the Instagram clips were really hitting, and I got a ton of people in my inbox, by the way.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, you know,
So let's kind of take a little dive backwards, and well, first we'll just briefly talk about what is it that kind of sparked your health change, because you basically, teach juicing, right?
Yeah.
Like healthy eating, juicing.
Mhm.
What sparked that? Like what was happening in your life?
But you know, it was actually 10 years ago, August 5th, 2015. I got the call that nobody wants to ever get. I got the call that I had been diagnosed with cancer. And I remember going through the whole process leading up to that diagnosis, having to go get a biopsy because my PSA levels were high. And my doctor was like, something may be off. And I went through the whole process of then going to do the biopsy. And I didn't think much of it because I never thought cancer was going to knock at my door. It just never crossed my mind. Even though the same year that I was diagnosed, I had 2 friends who had passed from cancer. But I just never thought it was going to knock at my door because in my mind, I was healthy. In my mind, because I didn't eat pork, that meant I was healthy. So I just didn't have I just wasn't concerned about it. So when I got the diagnosis, the doctor called me, and it's interesting because the doctor never said you have cancer. When he called me, he said, "We need to discuss your options." And I'm like, options? And so he scheduled me for an appointment the very next day. I went in and he told me, that I did in fact have cancer and that we needed to figure out what we were going to do. And he started talking about, radiation and all these other things. And then he said I needed to see a urologist. So then I went and saw a urologist, I think the next day. Then that same day I saw an oncologist. And the interesting thing about it was, only thing that they were talking about was surgery, radiation, and all this other stuff. Nobody was talking to me about lifestyle, what's going on, and no one was considering any other options. It was just like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And at the time, I was 48 at the time. My son was a senior in high school, and I had just started a new job. So my old health insurance was getting ready to lapse. I had like 3 weeks left on my old insurance, and my new insurance wasn't going to start for 90 days. So they were pushing me to have this surgery. Like, you need to do this like now, especially since your insurance is, you're not going to have this insurance. We don't know what may happen during that 3 month time. And I reluctantly went ahead and followed their advice to have these radioactive seeds. I had prostate cancer put
Mm.
in my prostate. And I remember the doctor, the oncologist saying, "We're going to see if this will work. We don't know, but we're going to see." And to me, that didn't feel like, I'm like, why am I doing this if this is just like, we're going to just kind of see? And so I ended up meeting an herbalist the same week I got diagnosed, who told me that I really need to look at my diet and what I'm putting in my body, because the doctors never told me that there was a cause and effect. They just made it seem like cancer just came out of the sky. Like it was like, this just is something that just happened to you. There's nothing to
Mm.
connect it with. So after talking to the herbalist, she, gave me some resources to look at. And one of the things that I found was there was a correlation between meat and dairy and prostate cancer. Well, none of my three doctors talked to me about that. That never even came up in conversation. And so I went ahead, followed the advice, had the radioactive seeds put in the prostate. It was 125 radioactive seeds that they put in the prostate. And they said, let's see if this works. What I remember hearing them say, that there could be all these side effects, but I really, when you're in that state of mind, you're hearing, but you're really not hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Chris, I had every imaginable side effect related to having that procedure. The first thing that happened was I was in excruciating pain, just like for months, because you have this radiation that's going off in your prostate that's not only supposedly killing the bad cells, but it's also impacting your healthy cells. So your body is just doing all kind of interesting things. So
Mm.
I'm in excruciating pain. Going to the bathroom was just like torture. Then I had the erectile dysfunction. Things just stopped working. Nothing was working. And then to me, the most challenging part for me was I started having incontinence. I just,
Mm.
I could not, I would wake up and the bed would be wet, or I would be out and I just had no control over what was going on with my body. And it felt to me like my body had betrayed me. And I remember going back to the doctor, telling them I'm having all these issues and symptoms. I mean, issues. And they said, well, we can give you a pill for this, a pill for that. We can give you a pill for the erectile dysfunction, a pill for that. And I was like, no, because every pill that they were talking about had all these side effects, and it wasn't
Mm.
addressing the root cause. And I knew enough at this time um, that those pills were just going to put me on a pathway to more pills, because you get on a pill for one thing, there's a side effect to that. And so I started just doing more and more research. And then I started changing my diet. I started eliminating all the things that had a correlation to prostate cancer. First it was the meat. Um, and then um, the most difficult thing for me to give up was the cheese and the dairy. But
Yeah.
I knew that I knew that it had to go. And I knew that I had to start fueling my body differently, because I didn't grow up eating fruits and vegetables. That was like rare. Like I ate a fruit or vegetable growing up. And even as an adult, it was rare. But what I realized is that, food can be the most powerful form of medicine, are the slowest form of poison. And
Mm.
for over 40 years, I have been poisoning my body unknowingly. I had been eating the stuff that I grew up on, you know, except for pork, because in our family, pork was unhealthy, but everything else was fair game. And
Mm.
so that's really what started my journey.
Wow. Okay. Got lots of questions. Um, so the first thing is these. You said they're radioactive pins,
Seeds, seeds,
seeds.
seeds.
What are the seeds?
There's radiation. So at first they were saying that they wanted to put those radioactive seeds into the prostate to see if it would help kill the cancer. And they also were talking initially that I was going to have to do external radiation where I would have to go to the doctor, I think 5 days a week to do them both. But then the oncologist was like, well, let's just see what happens here, what happens
Okay.
with these seeds. So
Are they?
yes.
Is it like metal that's radiated, or is it an injection? Do you know?
I don't know. I know they're seeds and they're radioactive, so they're emitting radiation. So
Okay. Okay.
one of the things that they told me is that I couldn't like hold a baby because they would radiate. So
Ah,
I couldn't have anything in my lap or yeah,
wait. So,
yeah,
but I mean, that has consequences for. It's not just a baby. If
right,
if you're able to radiate like that, then anybody, your child, if you hold your child, and
right,
maybe you have like a 6-year-old child, and they only come
right,
up to your waist, right?
right. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's I so it's interesting because like we've had a lot of people who've dealt with different kinds of cancer. I've never heard of the radioactive seeds before. It's
Mm-hmm.
always been, like the more, I guess, the external or a pill that they
Mm-hmm.
take. And
Yeah.
now it makes me wonder with other people, did they experience this where their body becomes kind of toxic to other people?
Right. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So you said that you growing up you guys didn't eat pork. That was like a big thing. What did you eat? Was it just the standard American diet? Like you
Standard
know
American diet. Yeah. Standard. I grew up, eating, look, I would eat cereal and cheese. We lived in a project that was on low income and we would the government cheese, just the cheap stuff, the stuff you can get now at like the dollar store.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that was my diet. Yeah.
Gum and cheese, Wonder Bread.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, it's
Kool-Aid.
spam. You ate
Spam.
spam?
Oh yeah, spam. Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Buying
it
the
was crazy
sausages.
growing up. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
The canned
Yeah.
the canned meat.
The
Yeah.
canned meat. Yeah. Yeah.
So what was your, because you look very fit now. So I'm imagining that you did sports or something. Like what was it like growing up, your fitness level?
Mhm. Well, actually, no. Growing up, my mother thought I had to get asthma. But and it was probably allergy induced asthma because I
Oh,
ate a lot of dairy and I had eczema and I had a lot and I was overweight as a kid. So
oh,
I didn't play any sport. My mother wouldn't allow me to play any sport because she thought I was going to have an asthma attack and all the other stuff. But and the doctors told my parents, my mother, that I grew out of it. I don't know if I grew out of it, but I don't know what happened. But no, so I was overweight as a child, uh, had respiratory issues, and had eczema. So yeah.
okay. So then when would you say that you started becoming more fit? Like at what point was that?
So when I became an adult, I started doing the whole low carb thing because I wanted to lean out. So I was eating
Mm.
lots of meat and cheese because, zero carbs. So I was doing a lot of that really up into my diagnosis. So I was doing the whole Atkins, I think it was Atkins thing where you just eat a lot of meat and cheese. That's
Hmm.
what was primarily my diet. And it helped me to slim out. But it also allowed, that disease to enter my body.
I mean, I think that's a great tidbit for people because most of the time when we think about dieting, we think standard American diet, trash. That's
Hmm.
the first thing you learn. That's a
Right.
trash diet.
Right,
But
right.
then you think, well, anything besides the standard American diet is better than the standard American, right? And
Hmm.
so you lost the weight, you started getting healthier, probably started
Hmm.
looking better, feeling
Right.
better. But then
Hmm.
there was like this consequence, this side effect almost that came along with it for you.
Right, right. And you know what, Chris? Every time I would eat dairy, which was every day because I loved cheese, I loved ice cream, I would eat every day. Every day I would eat it, I would always feel like I would always have congestion, my throat would
Mhm.
bother me, but I still would eat it. And it's amazing how we just ignore that feedback. And I always say now, pain is information. If your body is doing something, that's your body giving you feedback. But sometimes we just ignore it. And that's what I did because I was looking good. I liked the way I looked. So I
Mm-hmm.
ignored the way I was feeling.
Man, that's crazy. Okay, was there any other feedback that your body gave you? Because like usually cheese gives, mucus, congestion.
Oh
What?
yeah. 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 I had all that. I had all that.
Okay.
And even in terms of feedback with the prostate cancer, I was always going to the bathroom. I always had to
Mm,
pee. And I remember my son when he was in middle school, I don't know if they took a health class, but he recognized the fact that if we would go shopping or go somewhere, I'm always running to the restaurant. And he said, Dad, you need to get your prostate checked. I'm like, what do you know about a prostate? And I just ignored it, and
mm.
for me, that really, with prostate cancer, typically there are not a lot of symptoms. That's why can be so harmful because you walking around and you're not having any symptoms. But sometimes one of the symptoms is going to the bathroom a lot, and that's what I was doing.
I actually worked with a guy, and I tell this story a lot. So I was an electrician, and there was a guy who might have been like, at the time, he was probably like 43, 44, something like that.
Uh,
And he would go to the bathroom like every 45 minutes.
uh,
And like we're in construction, so we got to put all these, the safety stuff on, maybe he's on a lift or whatever, and we got to take our tools up. It's very inconvenient. And so it was difficult working with him because like he had to keep coming up and down. And that was my first real like experience with prostate like issues. I don't think he had
mm,
prostate cancer, but he definitely had an issue with this prostate. And
mm,
and I remember thinking like I'm not going to be him. Like I'm
mm.
gonna change my health because I was looking at all the guys around me and they all had something like that going on.
Yeah,
So that's crazy that your son kind of saw it.
yeah,
Did you
yeah.
did you also experience like waking up and having to go to the bathroom?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was like regular. That was normal for me. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Which it's crazy because like if it's normal for you, if you've been doing it for years, you might not think much of it. But like when people tell me that, I'm like, what? Like you got
Yeah.
to wake up because my mom has that.
Mm-hmm.
She has to wake up every night and go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you I want to talk a little bit about how did this whole experience make you feel? The way that they kind of talked to you, the way that they didn't really give you any other options. Were you conflicted about? I know they rushed you, but can you just dive into the emotional side of things for you?
Yeah. Um, for me, I felt like they really didn't care and they really didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. I felt like I
Mm,
was an experiment. I just felt like I was an experiment. Um, and the crazy part about it for me, hearing the word cancer, when I never thought I was going to die. I know a lot of people around me did, but I never thought that that was going to happen. And so for me, I was like, I know I have to change. I know I have to change. And to be honest, change was not only difficult for me, but it was also difficult for my family and the people that were close to me because
mm,
people thought I was doing too much. You don't have to give up all that. You don't have to do that. You don't have cancer. I do, and even family and people I know who love me, they they didn't get it, because when we would go out or we would have family functions, I was eating differently than they. And
mm,
it bothered them. It bothered them. And to be honest, I didn't know if any of the changes I was making was really going to work. I was doing the research and, everything was leading in that direction. But, you know, when you're dealing with incontinence and erectile dysfunction and pain, it's like you just want it to end, but you don't know because I never, I had incontinence and erectile dysfunction for over a year, and I'm doing all these
mm.
things, making all these changes, and we want stuff to happen immediately. I wanted,
Yeah.
but I had been fueling my body with all this poison for 48 years. And overnight, I want to drink some juice and eat a salad and think that tomorrow, I'm gonna be okay. And um, I stayed with it, just hoping and praying and hoping and praying and hoping and praying. Not only that there would be no more cancer, but the pain would go away and the erectile dysfunction and incontinence would stop. Because for me, Chris, the most difficult thing for me was having to go to the grocery store to buy those Depend diapers.
Mm.
That was like the cancer was one thing, the erectile, but that was just like having to wear, that was hard. That was
Yeah.
really, really hard. It took me a minute to do it, but it got to the point where I got tired of messing up my bed, and I'm like, and then I remember one time me and my son was out driving, and I had to go to the bathroom, and when I say I had to go, it was like I didn't have how you say, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, but
Right.
you could walk and do some other things. No, when I had to go, it was like, so I remember rushing to this gas station, Chris, getting to the bathroom door at the gas station, and the door was locked. It was closed, and my bladder just there in the store, and I had to go back to the car, and my son saw it, and it was the most humiliating thing. And I'm
Wow.
like, so that was tough. That was tough. And my son had so much compassion, and he understood. He was worried and concerned. But I'm like, it just really felt like my body had betrayed me. And it's
Mm.
like, to not have control over something as basic as, urinating, that was tough. That was tough.
Man, that's it's hard for me to quantify this because like when I was a child, I used to pee in the bed. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying?
hmm
And I'm probably at the time I'm probably like, shoot, man, I 8, 9, still peeing in the bed. So like, cause
hmm
normally children they grow out of it or whatever.
Right.
And I was still have it wasn't like every night, but it was like every once in a while, like to the point where you might be afraid to go to your spend the night at your friend's house. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Right.
And that embarrassment, you just kind of categorize it as a childhood embarrassment because you grow out of it and you never got to deal with that again. Um, but to have to go through that as an adult, it sounds like that was probably the worst part. Would
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man,
Yeah. And to be, I was started when I was 49, because that didn't start immediately after I had the surgery. That was probably maybe 6 months after the the erectile dysfunction and the incontinence happened. Probably 6 months. So
okay.
I probably was about 49, and dealing with that up until 50.
Hmm.
And it was, yeah,
It's
that,
that's like a showstopper for your life. Like that's like we gotta put stuff on hold
yeah,
to figure this out. When you think about it, like there's so many things that you have to think about ahead of time, prepare and plan.
right,
Um, it's almost like having a ball and chain.
right, yeah, absolutely,
And the the
absolutely,
the, the reason why I'm kind of digging into this a little bit is because right now there's some man listening to this, right, who
hmm
either has a prostate that's maybe like low functioning or whatever kind of happens, or
hmm
or might be considering surgery or whatever
hmm
going down the path you went. So it's like, and we don't hear this. I
yeah,
really appreciate you even being willing to talk about this because
hmm
um most people will probably just kind of brush it under the rug. But that's the problem, especially I think with us as men, because of our pride and our ego. There's certain things we don't want to talk about. And like we talk so much about women's health and we're so
right,
open but like we have issues and we need, especially like the erectile dysfunction. I mean, outside of prostate issues, men have that at a large rate now.
yeah, yeah, and
So go ahead, go ahead.
with the whole erectile dysfunction, it's like that's that's just such a part of your manhood. And when that is
Yeah.
not working, the the your self-worth, self-value, all of that. And I remember looking for support groups. I was looking for
Mm,
because I'm like I'm trying to connect with other brothers that's going through this, so that to want to just to have folks who understand what I'm going through, but also I was looking for some hope. I'm looking for, so what are you doing? Have you found something to help with that? And I found a few little support groups online, but um again, I think a lot of brothers, we are, we don't want to share what we are really going through, which is
mm,
why, I'm so vocal about sharing my experience, because once I started sharing my experience with other people, brothers started, sharing, and women started telling, and so I think, we go through stuff like that. It's not just for us. It's really for us also to be able to share, to let folks know that they can get through whatever they're going through. Because I tell you, for about 2 years, my life just it was, you know, I was wanting to get better, hoping to get better, praying to get better. But healing for me was not like this little, that's not how, it
yeah.
was up and down. Sometimes I would get a little glimmer of hope and, feel like
Mm.
something was, working, but, it wasn't like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, that it sound looks like the path to success. A lot of people think the path to success is just a you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't
It's
that.
it's like a roller coaster, right? You go up
Yeah,
and then you
right,
crash down and
right, right,
all
right.
right, so let's talk about like some of the things that you implemented. In the beginning stages, you said that you're doing the salads and juices for a year. What was it that you were using? What are the tools? What do you think helped you? Let's talk about what you actually did.
Mhm. So one of the things that I realize is that the nutrition is so important when you're on a healing journey. And the fact that more doctors don't talk about that when somebody is facing a life crisis, it's just baffling to me. And um, yeah, I just don't, you know, I get it, but I don't get it, because many of them just don't know. They just don't know. So for me, I just started experimenting, with different fruits and vegetables. Because again, particularly vegetables, I didn't like vegetables, in my mind, and so I just started, trying different juice recipes, and if anything that I've did research to find that would help, like with the erectile dysfunction, things like beets, were really important. Things like pumpkin seeds. I'm like, so I started just incorporating all those, into my diet, whether it was through the juice thing or putting the pumpkin seeds in salads. I just started doing things like that, and again, nothing was happening immediately, but I kept doing it because I started finding, little success stories of people who had um, um, had reversed that stuff, through their diet. And the more information I would see people on YouTube or Instagram, talking about their experience and how, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. And I just kept doing it. And for me, um, I I started enjoying foods that I didn't think that I wasn't used to eating. Like,
Mm.
you never in a million years we have told me I'll be drinking beet juice and or eating arugula, none of that. But once I started fueling my body differently, my cravings and appetite changed. And so the strange thing about it was, when I started changing that, my mood started getting better. I still was having the symptoms, but I started having more energy and my mood started getting better. And I just started, feeling better, even in spite of what I was going through, even in spite of that I was still dealing with that. And I was like, oh, wow. And then I started doing like, I remember I did my first juice fast, and I'm like, I'm just gonna, do a juice fast, and see what happens. And at first, I was intending to do it. I think initially I was going to do it for 5 days, and then I was feeling so good. I did it for 7. I ended up doing it for, I think that first one I did for like 35 days, and I felt so good. The incontinence, stopped. The erectile dysfunction was gone. Things started working again, and I felt, and I was excited. I was cautiously excited because I was like,
Right.
I don't want, I'm like, is this just a temporary thing, or are we gonna go back to where we were? And
Yeah.
no, and everything just, everything started working. Um, and the pain went away,
Mm.
and that was like, so I was diagnosed in 2015. All of the issues really started like full force in 2016 because I was diagnosed
Good.
in August. Um, uh, by 2017, I was, my body was, I could tell my body had, was healing. I didn't have all of those things that I was having. And the
Hmm.
doctors were surprised when I went back to do my checkups. The doctors were surprised. They had told me that the cancer, the cancer, of course, was gone. But they told me, need to have tests every 6 months because that 5 year period is when they're most concerned that it'll come back. Which um, is frustrating for me that they don't talk about nutrition, because if the during that 5 year period, there's a higher probability of the cancer returning, and you're not telling people to change anything in their lifestyle or diet. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm.
But they were surprised that I didn't need any of the pills for the erectile dysfunction and incontinence that my body, had just healed on its own. And they never once asked me what I did. They just like,
Never.
oh, and they said, but he did say, keep on doing whatever you're doing. He didn't ask me, what are, I was like, okay, okay. But yeah, so yeah, that's how that happened.
If I had $1 for every time I had somebody tell me their doctor just told them, "Hey, just keep doing whatever you're doing," and did not ask what it was. I've actually had people tell me, "My doctor told me do not tell me what you're doing."
Wow.
And eventually I'm like, "Okay, what's going on here?" And what I realized was the pharmaceutical companies fund the colleges, right?
Hmm.
Like they're the
Yeah.
biggest donors at the medical colleges and stuff, to the point where when you look at their education, and this is why it's such a problem, like the pharmaceutical companies, like, you got to teach pharmacology, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the schools teach pharmacology basically exclusively, and then they get that little couple of hours of nutrition or whatever the case may be. And
Hmm.
so then when they become doctors, especially if they like do their own private practice or something, they've got all this debt, the student loan debt. And so then here come the pharmaceutical reps, and they're like, "Hey, we got this new drug, it helps with this. We got this drug, helps with that, and we'll
Hmm.
give you 50% commission." And so when you look at it holistically, right? If you say, "Hey man, like I was able to get past all these symptoms because I started juicing, I started fasting, I started eating a certain way," and he hears that 3, 4 times, 5 times, now I think there's like a conscious problem, because it's like he's got men that he's working with, or women that he's working with, and he knows something that works, but he can't tell them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because first of all, you're literally like throwing away your own money, and I'm sure that the pharmaceutical companies, if a doctor, and you've probably seen this, certain doctors have come out and they started talking about natural this and natural that,
Hmm.
and they either get run out of the country or they get imprisoned.
Yep.
You know,
Hmm. Yep.
so it's like, why don't they say anything? Why don't they want to know? We kind of know.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to know, like, what inspired you to do this juice fast in the first place, because in the time frame that all of this is happening, I'm just thinking, I literally started my brand in 2016, and
Mm-hmm.
like at that time, like fasting in general wasn't really that popular. Like intermittent fasting was starting to, kind of pick up. But the only people talking about fasting were like really like long term, like 40-day water fast. And a
Mhm.
lot of people were turned off by that. But like, where did you get the idea to do juice fasting?
I it was actually my herbalist that had suggested it. She like, give your body a break. She said, give your body a break, and the fuel that your body would the energy that your body would normally use to break down food, it will use that to help, your body heal. And so it was really, from talking to her, is really what sparked it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, whoever that is, I mean, I know
Yeah.
on Christmas and holidays, man, they get a card or
Right,
something.
right, right,
Like,
right.
I mean, it's like that was probably a major changing point for you. So,
Oh yeah.
since you did that first juice fast, have you made juice fasting like a regular thing?
Oh yeah. Every quarter I do at least a 10-day juice fast because I realize in spite of how healthy I eat, I'm still exposed to the same toxins other people are in the air and the water. And so, fasting for me is just very important because I'm still, and even in some of the foods that unless you're growing your own food, you don't really know what's in it. So we're all
Yeah.
exposed to toxins and stuff that we don't even know. So fasting for me is so important. So yeah, every quarter I do at least 10 days.
Okay. So I think I know the answer to this, but have you ever done any other type of fasting? Water fasting, dry fasting, anything else?
I've tried, you know, I've tried to do actually after watching you, I've tried, I've done like a 24-hour water fast.
Okay.
Um I did a 24-hour water fast. I haven't done dry fasting yet, but
Okay.
I'm working up to
Dipping the toes in.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
because I've been hearing so many incredible stories. I had a lady on my podcast who she did a juice fast, and then she did I think a 7-day water fast, where she had fibroids, and
Mm.
she doctors wanted her to have surgery. She said she's an entrepreneur. She didn't really have time to have surgery or the money to have
Oh,
it. She had seen someone else talk about doing a water fast, and she did it 30-day juice fast, 17-day water fast, and the fibroids came out in the toilet, and now
mm.
she has 3 kids, and
Ah,
fibroids are yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
so that's definitely, yeah, that's definitely my
Yeah.
next level. Yeah,
I love those stories, man. Like,
yeah,
I know you do.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, man. I look. I'm just like I was just like wow. I couldn't even. I was just so blown away by the story. I just kept. I couldn't even ask any questions. I'm like, wow, why? Because it's amazing what the body will do. It is amazing what the body will do when we create the right environment for it.
So let me ask you about your brand and maybe the entrepreneurial side of things. Cause like, um, do you first of all, do you consider yourself a health coach? What title would you give yourself? Or what do you?
No, I don't consider myself I'm a health student. I don't consider myself a health coach. This all really happened because while I was going through my own journey, I
Mhm.
just wanted to share my story because I knew that I hope that my story would help anyone else that was going through because I know how lonely I felt and how at times how scared it was going on this journey. So I just started sharing my story on social media. And then, I have my friends, say, why are you telling your business? You know how we are. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, maybe it will help someone. And then um I remember asking myself this question during one of my juice cleanses. You have all this clarity, and the question came up to me: Why me here now? And why am I
Mm.
here? What am I here? What am I supposed to do? And I realized, I was supposed to share my story so that it can help encourage other folks. And so I ended up starting a supplement company with some of the supplements that I was taking, on my journey, and that I continue to take, like black seed oil, sea moss, and those kinds of things, ashwagandha. Um, so I started with just one product with the black seed oil, and a friend who does marketing was telling me, she said, you need to, because nobody was buying my product. And so she said, you need to, people need to get to know you more. And she
Mm.
said, you need to start doing videos. And I was like, I really don't want to, I don't really, I'm like, I'm 50, I'm over 50 years old. Nobody wants to hear me talk about nothing. And she said, you need to do videos. I said, what am I going to do videos on? She said, what do you like to do? And I said, well, I juice all the time. She said, well, start doing videos juicing. And so that's what I started doing. I just started doing, juicing videos, making different concoctions. And, and that really helped, grow my supplement company with the one product with the black seed oil. Um, and I just kept doing it. And I was doing like videos every 3 days a week. And I didn't, when I go back and look at those videos, I kind of cringe because the videos are horrible. But, and I just kept doing it. And then, what happened was, I did a video that went viral. It was the first time I went viral. And I was just talking about cancer and the high rates of cancer in the United States and how we have the highest rate of all countries, one of the highest rates, and how so much of the foods in our country are banned in our country are banned in other countries. And it was a 60-second video, and I went and got a little globe, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I did this video. It ended up going viral. And what happened was Kourtney Kardashian, somehow she saw the video and she shared that video to her folks on Instagram. And my platform just kind of exploded from there. And I didn't follow her. I didn't even know what was happening. I just saw these numbers just growing. And some few people DM me and said, "Did you know that Kourtney had shared your video to her platform?" I was like, "No, I did." And so that's when, yeah, yeah. So for me,
Oh,
so, getting on social media in my 50s was I it just kind of happened, you know.
that's great. You literally struck gold.
Yeah.
Like you stumbled into a pile of gold. Like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and I was just as I was truly surprised and shocked. I remember when on my Instagram, I was stuck at 1,100 followers on Instagram for the longest, and now to have a million on Instagram, I have over 2 million across platform, but I never thought anybody would want to hear a 50 plus, now almost 60-year-old man talking about health on social media.
and man, you look good too. Like that,
Oh,
like
thank you.
you know what I'm saying? Like, in spite everything, when you consider the history, just like eating cereal and cheese and all of that, and then getting a formal cancer diagnosis, and then even going through the treatment, because as I've like started to talk to more people dealing with different diseases, I learned that the treatment actually does you in more frequently than the actual disease itself, right? And
Yeah.
so, like I said, man, I mean, you look great, you look fit,
Thank you.
I could never guess you were almost 60,
Mm, mm.
And so I think it shows how you can also reverse the hands of time, the metabolic age, through, the nutrition, the dietary strategies, fasting. So for those who are out there thinking, because, I get a lot of people that are like, Chris, y'all talk about fasting and losing 100 pounds without loose skin, right? And
Mhm.
they'll be like, man, but I'm 50, I'm 60, that won't work for me. And it's just like, why do you think that? Where do you get that information
Right.
from? Like,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
For me, Chris, and I hear that a lot from people who are my age. Um, but I think a lot of people just accept certain things and think that, oh, because you're older, you're gonna have high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or you even gonna be overweight. I don't take any medications for any of those things. I don't have arthritis, none of high blood pressure. I don't have any of those things. I don't take any medication. And I think so many have just bought into the lie that we think as we get older, our bodies decline. Yeah, our bodies change, but they don't have to decline when you fuel it with the right nutrients.
There's so many examples of people who are in their 60 plus. I mean, you're talking 70 years old who are
Yeah.
fit, active, look good, you
Yep.
know? So
Yeah.
I, I look at it like this. When you look at nature, because I like to look at nature, because I feel
Mhm.
like, yeah, nature's been corrupted by man, but when you look at nature, you see a 200-year oak tree. You don't see this decrepit, old, flimsy thing that is
Right.
losing all its leaves, and you see something mighty,
Hmm.
right? Like a
Yeah.
200-year-old tree is a mighty thing. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, the older a tree gets, the more mighty it becomes. And if we're supposed to be the most sophisticated creature on this earth, why are we aging like that? And the
Right.
trees are, you got the orchid, what do you call it, the killer whales, the orchids
Mm.
or whatever, not
Yeah.
orchids. What are they called? Those whales,
The
orcas, right? I
orcas.
don't know.
Yeah. Orca. I think they. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's orcas,
Orca.
whatever. Somebody's gonna be mad at me, but they're living to be 150, 200 years old.
Mhm.
The turtles are living to be
Right.
150, 200, and it's like why we get like 70 good years,
Yeah.
if that.
If that. Yeah.
All right, so you've been able to touch a lot of lives. Um, is there maybe like a particular? I know you told us about the lady who like released her fibroids and was able to, have children. I guess she probably
Hmm.
thought she was infertile before.
Hmm.
Was there any stories that you've captured that really stood out to you that you like to share, maybe outside of hers?
Yeah. So there's this brother who's a truck driver who had gained, oh, I think he was like almost 400 pounds, and they had him on all kind of medications, for high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and he drives trucks, so he's in a truck all the time, and he was just wanting. He was tired of being on all the medications, wanting to drop the weight. And he started changing his diet. He started watching my videos, just change. He would take his juice or he would take fruit with him, and he stopped getting all of the food that he would get at the gas station. He would prepare, his stuff in advance, and he's lost over 100 pounds. He's off of all those medications, and 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 he didn't even think that it was possible, But it just goes to show you, you know, what you can do when you make up your mind
Mhm.
and you commit to doing the work, because it takes extra work for him to prepare his stuff as opposed to just running to the gas station when he's, driving. He's a long haul driver. So when he's out on the road, and just to see his transformation is just incredible.
It's this mindset of I can, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you and it kind of goes back to what we was just talking about where people are like, well, I can't lose that much weight. I can't because I'm this age. It's like reverse that. Like just change everything
Yeah.
to I can and
Yeah.
then, pursue how. How do I need
Right.
what do I because everything is possible, right?
Everything, you know. And I always tell people, change really is possible and healing is possible. But, we got to do things differently. We got to
Mhm.
do things differently, and be willing to explore. Be willing to explore, you know.
Mhm.
I often hear people that say, they always talk about, well, there's no research on this. Well, I do the research on my body. I'm really like, as opposed to putting my body and my life. It's I do, I test things out, for myself.
Mhm. And who better to do it because you know your body better than anybody.
Yep.
And when you do something, whether it works or not, you're the best person to determine that.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just this societal norm that we're supposed to give over our brain and our logical thinking to the
Mhm.
expert. And
Right. And I was talking to this medical doctor before who told me, she said, do you realize that the average patient only spends about 17 minutes with their doctor. 17 minutes. That is not enough time to get to that is not that is enough time to write you a prescription, to tell you you got this and here's a prescription. That is
Right.
not enough time to really understand what's going on with you, to try to figure out what's the cause. Not that they want to figure out what the cause is, but yeah, it's not enough time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that you made a good point. The doctor's job is not to find out root cause. And I think
Yeah.
people really they need to it's not they're not being mean, they're not
No.
being it's literally that's not their job.
Nope.
They manage symptoms.
Yep.
Treatment.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Yep.
So
Hmm.
it's our fault and we have to take accountability for and I tell people like this, you are the one going to your lawyer because your car broke down. Like,
Hmm.
ain't nobody tell you to go to the lawyer because your car broke down.
Right.
Everybody knows you need to go to the mechanic.
Right.
You decided to go to the lawyer, you know? Go to a wellness professional when you're
Right.
looking for holistic healing,
Yep.
you know?
Hmm.
But 200 years ago, we all knew it.
Yep.
It was normal.
Hmm.
Right? But then you got Rockefeller, and we won't get too much into that. But
Hmm.
Rockefeller did what he did. He
Right.
manipulated the school systems, the education board. He
Hmm.
funded the pharmaceutical. He funded the MDs, and then
Hmm.
now we have this whole society. I mean, he corrupted the entire Western world. It's insane.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 And
So
and that's why it bothers me, when people say, "Well, my doctor, my doctor," and I've had people say, "My doctor told me not to juice, because of this, that," and I'm like, okay. And and again, we put our doctors on this pedestal, like they're
we definitely,
superhuman.
it's that white coat syndrome, man.
Yeah.
So as we kind of go back to the conclusion of your story,
Hmm.
the seeds, I'm so like I gotta do a little research.
Okay.
Did they have to extract it? Does the radiation stop with time or
Yeah, yeah, it stopped with time. Like,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Over
Okay.
time, they no longer emit, you know.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah, and they just stay. I I don't think that they dissolve. I think they're still there, but
okay.
they're not emitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, because um I've never they have such unique ways to poison the body. It's like it's
Mhm.
it's literally like Frankenstein.
And that's the thing too, for all of those symptoms that I was having, with this stuff in my body, I'm having to detox all of that stuff, you
Right.
know, and that's an ongoing process.
Right.
Yeah.
What so you said you use black seed oil. We know you did the beet juice and the
Hmm.
salads and the pumpkin seeds.
Hmm.
What were other supplements that you used? Do you still have your supplement brand?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yo,
I do.
talk to me about
Yeah.
supplements, man. What we
Yeah, yeah. So, so the first thing was the black seed oil because of all the anti-cancer properties. That was the first thing that I started using. That was the first thing that I started offering with my company. It's called Good Living Now. And then, I added sea moss because, sea moss has the 92 of the 102 minerals that our body needs. So that's so important. And ashwagandha, we all are stressed out because what I know is that my diagnosis wasn't just about what I was putting in my body. My stress levels before the diagnosis was real high. I was dealing with financial issues, childhood trauma, all that stuff.
Mm.
Ashwagandha helps you to relax, helps to lower the cortisol levels in your body because we know cortisol is high, you become susceptible to all kind of illness. So we have ashwagandha. We also sell soursop capsules because of their anti-cancer properties, and colon cleanse. Uh, because a lot of folks, and you can do your own colon cleanse just by fasting, and you can, but so we offer as well. So over the years, every year we've kind of added a new product to the line.
Yeah. Well, that's how you do it. I mean, just from a
Hmm.
standpoint of business, I mean, you if you add a whole bunch
Yeah.
of products at once, that's
Right.
but
Right.
just kind of like adding what makes sense and what's worked for you and where
Yeah.
you see the need.
Yeah. 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 So all of the stuff that we sell is what I use.
Right. The
Yeah.
colon cleanse is there was maybe about 5 years ago, something like that. It
Hmm.
got really popular to do like the detoxes, the full body detoxes,
Hmm.
which included a colon cleanse, right? It's
Uh-huh.
like, I think people don't understand how much waste gets caught up in the bowels, and and then it gets stuck because we eat a lot of,
Especially, yeah,
right?
especially if you eat dairy and sugar, it becomes like glue.
Yeah.
So everything that goes in is not coming out.
hmm
Yeah.
And I tell people, like, fasting will help detox you, especially juicing, right? Juicing is
Uh-huh.
great for cleaning the colon, but like a lot of people, they don't want to put in the time and the effort. You know what I mean? They don't want to be
Yeah.
consistent. And it's like, why not have some other tools to aid you? Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like, it's kind of like fighting fire with fire. Like, you used a whole bunch of stuff to make you sick. So then use some tools to help get you better,
Yeah.
and do everything you can. Why not?
Yeah. 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 See what happens.
Listen, man, I appreciate you sharing with us today. Like, it's been, man, it's been, I didn't expect this. Like, your story is very unique. I appreciate the openness. I appreciate the work that you do, like the brand that
Mhm.
you've built, the consistency that you have, your business, the supplements. I'll make sure to leave links. Do does well, we'll leave the links to your store. Do you have links for those stories that you told us? The lady that you interview her, the one that.
Yeah, she's on the podcast. Actually, both of them are on the podcast. The young man who lost all the weight, the truck driver. Yeah, but I don't. We
Okay,
don't have it. Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll put them links out there too, so people can
Oh
listen to
yeah,
those stories.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say? Let's say that there's a young man or a young woman, or someone who's older, who's
Mm-hmm.
out there, and they just got that cancer diagnosis, or maybe it's in their mind, because sometimes people think, oh man, it's coming. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
literally just had a client tell me she thinks that she might be developing ovarian cancer. So what would be
Mm,
a word that you would give to them to kind of help them?
mm. I would say that healing is really possible. It's really possible. You have to believe it though. You have to believe it, and not only believe it, be open to get new information. Be open to get new information and trust your body. Pay attention to what your body is saying. Your body is giving you feedback. Our body is always giving us feedback. We need to pay attention and be willing to make the change and know that change is possible and healing is possible.
Mm. You can't have change without change. So,
Mm-mm. No, nope.
is that not the hardest part? Like,
It
people just want
is.
to stay in their lane and do what they've been doing and just get better, and it
Mm.
don't work like that.
Yeah, and for me, I just became a student. I just became a student of wanting to learn more about how the body heals. And that's why I always encourage folks to just research, get more information, and try things that you probably have never heard before that may make you feel uncomfortable and realize that it is not about perfection. It is about
Mm,
progress. You might try something, and just because it didn't work that time, doesn't mean that you don't just stop trying.
mm.
Try again, and don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. If you would have gave up, because like you said, you did it for a year without really seeing any progress that you can
Right.
note.
Yeah.
If you would have gave up, where would you be? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, this was amazing. I appreciate your time. If you guys are out there watching, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. You know what I mean? We need to encourage more men to come on and tell their stories and be honest and open, because we're spending a lot of time healing, and men they don't have that natural inclination to this kind of knowledge base.
Right.
Um, I think we just inherently know that, like, the healthcare system is BS, and so we just don't even want to mess with it. But
Right. Right.
wellness is a whole different ball game. So thanks for coming on,
Thank you for
and
having me.
man, it's a pleasure. Listen, we listen. We gotta keep building, because I
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean. I feel a good synergy. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe And as always, the application of knowledge is power, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.